Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our show. I am your host, Elias Haddad, and I am here with my co-host, my good friend, Dave Conley. What's up, my dude?
Yeah, good. Oh, so good. How are you doing?
Man, I tell you what, I am obsessed with my farm, and I've talked about it 4 weeks in a row. I am so in love with this place, and I met my neighbor who is turning 90 on May 15th. May 15th is
Wow.
I'm going to do something for her. I just met her.
Yeah.
And I sat with her for like 2 hours. I mean, she's fascinating. I mean, she's fascinating individual. And you want to talk about like the universe, like aligning people, right?
Mhm.
Um, I went into like my ayahuasca trip within like 30 minutes of talking to her because her primary focus was usually using visual stimulations to induce trance to work on trauma.
Wow.
So, and she's 90, so
Yeah.
she's been doing this since like the 70s, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Like she's been doing this for a long time. She lives in one of the coolest houses I've ever personally been in. She designed it herself. Her former husband was an artist and an architect, and she got two students at the University of Kentucky to basically draw out what was in her mind. So before I go into what she says, because I love real estate, I'm going to tell you that the design of the house is so cool. So imagine a rectangle or a square, and then in the square is another square that's kind of like attached. So it's like square and then another square on it, where it kind of like protrudes out. So it's like a box and a box sitting on it. The box sitting out here is basically two glass walls, 2 stories high. And then you look into the property, and what she did on one walls, where there's two walls that kind of face the two glass walls going out, she used basically shingles, like wooden shingles that you would find on a side of a house. Outside in, it looks like you're looking on the outside of a house that's enclosed in glass, even though that's her living room, the enclosed glass area. It is one of the coolest looking houses I've ever been in. I was like, I just met her and I was like, you will never sell this house to anyone but me. I was like, this is it. This is my spot. It sits on 150 acres that's attached to my property,
Yeah.
which my property is literally a mountainside. Hers, it's the mountainside that attaches to the nice flat land that she owns, you know. And she was so cool, man. She dedicated the last portion of her life to her daughter, who just passed away. I think her daughter was like in her 60s or 50s. Basically, she had this amazing story about basically her daughter had some trauma where when they were in Oklahoma, something about her cousin took her to some devil worshiping thing where she was raped several times. So like the last 30 years of her life was dedicated to doing psychoanalysis therapy for her daughter, who she has paintings that her daughter did all over the house. Some of the coolest art I've ever seen. And I was really too shy to be like, sell me one of these beautiful paintings. Like they're just gorgeous paintings. And I sat with her for 2 hours, man. And I love like this age group. I mean, and this is since I was 6 years old. I can clearly remember sitting with like 80, 90, 70-year-old people, because actually in the 80s, a 70-year-old was like really, really old. Like, I feel like that's not the case now. Like the 70s is the new 60, right? Like, really, I mean, even the 80s is the new 70 or 80s is the new 60, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But right, that age group of people where it's just like complete separation of generations, like way off. Like I don't have, my grandparents died. My one grandmother died she was 52. My other grandparents were older, but there was, my dad had like 15 siblings. So between the first one and the last one was like 30 years, you know what I mean? So I never really got to experience grandparents like most people probably did. So to get somewhere that's like 90 and hear their story, and she's been dealing with COVID for the last year. So she basically, her daughter passed away and she's been alone for that last year. So I'm gonna go. I haven't been going to the gym. I've been grabbing a chainsaw and cutting down trees and hauling water and moving limbs and shit and like I don't even
ripped on the land.
grass, bro. I don't even mow my own lawn, but I'm out there like, chopping down fucking trees and shit. But like, it's been, yeah, it was really, it's so amazing to meet somebody like that. And explaining to her what YouTube is, like I was like, yeah, this.
Just like completely, yeah,
He was like, "What is this YouTube you're talking about?" I was like,
yeah.
"Algorithm-driven TV, like trying to explain to her videos." And she's like, "So is there useful content on there?" And I'm like, "A lot of not so much."
No, not really, but you can find some. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. And I literally told her about I think it was like a
Yeah.
Wall Street Journal article that was talking about how there's so much stuff on YouTube that literally you can't find anything to watch because it's like so much shit. It's so hard to sift through the crap to find anything worth watching. It's not worth watching it, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
right.
Content, but that
It's like
was
having
my
a
day.
million channels and nothing on.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's my day, man. How's it been going with you?
Hey, I've been in a business conference the last few days, and it's been just grueling and exciting, and got me really charged up about what's next for me. Really thinking about the really going from as a speaker and an author, and as somebody who does some coaching to that's really just trading my time for money, right? I'm not really a business owner. I have a big risky job is what
Yeah,
because it's all on me, right? If
yeah.
I went away tomorrow or if I decided to do something else, everything stops. And that doesn't feel good to me because I know my spirit is very entrepreneurial and very business driven and very like, let's make a big difference in the world. And it's not going to happen on my back alone.
Yeah.
And so, really stepping back from my business, that's what I love about doing professional development or going to like a personal development, is that you get to step back, take a look at your life, take a look at your different life categories, see how they go together. And so often I find people who just don't do that, right? Like they get wrapped up in their lives and they wonder why things are so weird, quote unquote, all of a sudden when it's been it's been an iceberg melting for a really long time, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I get so much value of just stepping back for a few days and saying, hey, you know what, I am doing really cool work, and how do I take that, how do I scale it, how do I move it to more people, bigger audiences, and more people can get what I want to put out in the world as a meaning maker, as a way shower, as a pathfinder. It's like I do all of that, yes, and where does that go for a business? A business is something, as you well know from being a very successful entrepreneur and business leader, that a business is something that you can sell. It has an exit. And I sell me, and as much as I enjoy that, it's time for more. So
Yeah.
super exciting for that. Looking forward to doing a little bit of travel here. Now it's all safe travel. It's all good travel. I'm going out to Costa Rica and everything's tested and the rest of it. So really looking forward to also looking at my personal development. So like back to back, I'm doing about 9 days of really looking at both my personal and my professional development, and just stepping back and saying, okay, what's going on in my world? What's going on? And so having that full stop and just taking the time to do it, do the work. It is among the most powerful things that you can do for yourself. And I think we just ignore that mostly.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't, but a lot of people do. It's like, I'll listen to this podcast or I'll read this book. I'm not knocking those things.
Yeah.
But to get real positive change in your life, you've got to sit and do the work, get it into your body, get it into your brain, and then start executing on it. I can't tell you how many years of like book reading and thinking about stuff that I did. It wasn't until I started doing things that I started learning about myself, learning about business, learning about all of the things that I needed to be doing. And which is unlimited, right? It's such a big life. So choosing some lanes, making some improvements. And I've found certainly at midlife, when you make one change in one area, then it starts rippling out into all sorts of parts of your life. And that's what's so magical of just stepping back, taking a look, thinking about what's next, and just choosing, right? And it's like, oh, you know what? This is lighting me up. Go do that. I mean, how many personal and professional development or podcasts or books or things that you've read where it's like, wow, that's cool, and
Didn't implement it.
nothing, right?
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I want to change that. It's like, change it for me, change it for others. My clients, the people that I work with, have certainly got permanent lifelong change.
Hmm.
So how to maintain that, how to get the habits into ways of being, because for me, um, you hear about the people who take off 100 pounds and then put it right back on, take off 100 pounds. I did that for decades. So my clients have gotten permanent change, and that is the change of, well, I'm always going to be a fat man, to I'm fit or I'm healthy and I have things that I want to be doing in the future. And so seeing your future self and being that fit person, it would be impossible for me to put on 100 pounds.
Hmm.
And that's the difference between thinking about it and doing it and getting it into your body and bones.
Yeah, I've experienced the same thing. I mean, I've got I don't know how many books in my Audible collection on my shelves that are, and I've taken little bits and pieces. Have I ever implemented every single thing? Probably not. I've taken some of the stuff and tried to train the real estate agents in my office with it. One of the best books that I've been able to kind of implement into my life that I still use is The Compound Effect
Tell me about
by
that.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, what is his name? He was the publisher for Success Magazine. He wrote a book. Basically, I mean, it's just like compound interest. You just adding just a little bit more every time, it'll compound into doing things better for your life. And then he also has like a kind of like a um, supplemental book. I think it's like an additional $40, but it's like living your best life ever. And the
Mm,
first, 25 pages of that book is doing an assessment on 8 sections of your life, which is personal finance, physical fitness, spirituality, family and friends. I'm drawing blanks on the other couple, but it's basically a round wheel,
yeah.
and you're going to score yourself on all 8 of these. And if you're balanced, the lines that you connect, like the line, if you imagine a circle, in the center is 0 and to the edge of the circle is 10, you score 1 to 10 in every one of these lines in the circle. Well, if you have a perfectly balanced life, that circle you should be at an 8 or a 6 all the way around, or a 7 all the way around. But what you realize is that on one end of the sometimes, like, and this happens to real estate agents a lot, because they don't have a 9 to 5. They've got clients that are calling them at all times of the day, and we're trying to coach these people into being like, yo, you need family time that needs to be blocked off. And I know the market today, right now, the market's insane. It's like the most insane. I mean, I went into the market in 2008, and that was insane. This is a whole different kind of crazy. Um, but what ends up happening is that they'll let their business take over the rest of their life. Like, they're always looking at their phone. They're always answering client calls up to 2 in the morning. And I'm totally for providing service for people, but that time that you're looking at your phone when your kid's sitting in front of you is time that you just took from your kid. Right. And when there's rarely anything that requires immediate attention. There's
Yeah.
rarely anything, especially in business, unless it's like you own a rental property and a water heater exploded on the 3rd floor and it's soaking the rest of the building. That's an immediate, it's a crisis that needs to be handled. But the reality is that you're a buyer that is having trouble, finding a home, like, or those are like really prioritizing those kind of things. And another book that for my personal business that actually helped me scale, was a book called Traction: Getting a Grip of Your Business. And in that book, much the same thing. They want you to be balanced on a lot of different things. And I find when you're able to, like, kind of put it all in front of you and see and you have that honest assessment, you kind of put it together, like, holy crap, man, my spirituality is not there, and I'm spending all this energy is going towards my business. And then when I look at my health, it's not doing that great. When I look at my relationships, it's not doing that great. I'm not doing my spirit meditating or going to church. Like, you'll see it all shifts that circle. And one thing, it's almost the end of the first quarter, and something that I haven't done, which I do almost every first quarter, is I take a trip where I'm completely alone, and just do an assessment like that, where I'm just like by myself. Usually it's a cabin out at Red River Gorge, or and I just go out there and just like think on my own for one full day or 3 full days or whatever it may be. And sometimes I do my business planning, and sometimes it's personal planning. Something that I've never done up until like 2 years ago was personal planning. Like I never had done that. Like give me a business plan, I'll crush that bitch, dude. I will annihilate that thing. I'll hit every one of those goals. But I never wrote down my personal plans, and somebody called me out on it. I was like, oh, that's a thing. It's like people do that, and you forget.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So what I heard is you get success out of like small incremental changes. Totally agree with that. Certainly when I'm talking to clients, when I'm talking to folks, you really get radical change in small steps. Like if it's like, oh, it's like, oh, I want to, so you start the new year with just a New Year's resolution to like, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to get really fit. And by February, everybody's gone again, right? It's like, oh, forget it. By March, forget it. Everybody is out. And I coach up folks and I talk to folks, and it's like, okay, let's get some positive wins here, because positive gets positive, gets positive, gets positive. So I don't want you to go to gym every day and work out for 2 hours. That's just setting you up for failure. It's just go to the gym. I don't care what you do, right? Like you can just sit in your car and just go back home. It's like, okay, success. I parked my car.
Yeah.
Go inside, have a juice, whatever. Just get there. It's like, oh, okay, I made it to the gym, and that incremental change is fascinating. Also, you can also imagine yourself that parts of the brain that think about time and space and our reality are very, very different. And you can actually imagine yourself just really stepping into an experience and start to change your behavior. This is what it got really popular and popularized by top elite athletes. Where you're visualizing sinking the basket, visualizing hitting the ball, visualizing making the run. That's the same thing that creates the neural connections of actually physically doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can sink 1,000 baskets, and you can be world class if you do that for a long, long time. And you can think about sinking about 1,000 baskets and get progressively better at it, better at it, better at it. Those are the small changes, and those are the big changes that you can make in order to start anchoring in habits. Also, attaching it to other habits. I mean, think about you getting up this morning, right? Everybody has a morning routine. Maybe it's getting up and scratching your balls and going and taking a shower, right? Maybe it's like, I do this and this and this and this. Like my morning routine is fairly regimented, but I can get a little bit off. But it's fairly like I get up, I get some coffee, do some meditation, I get a shower, I have a red light that I do. Occasionally I do journaling. I want to do a little bit more of that, and get a little food in my body. And begin my day. I can knock it out in less than an hour if I'm really diligent, or about an hour. And if I want to add something to that, I tack it on to something I'm already doing. Everybody brushes their teeth, and if you don't, mom has a phone call for you, right? Everybody brushes their teeth. If you want to start something new, tack it on to something you're already doing, like brushing your teeth. If you're like, oh, I want to journal, it's like, okay, before you brush your teeth, you go and journal for 5 minutes. That's a small win, small thing, and you get rewarded by brushing your teeth. I don't know about you, but I like brushing my teeth because it's good for you. Yeah. So tacking it onto something else, feeling good about that, it starts a virtual process of changing things in small incremental ways. You can do it for yourself, you can do it for your business, because the big changes mean failure, and failure means I'm going to stop doing that. You're not going to touch the hot pan anymore.
Yeah, right? Procrastination is just a fear of failure. That's all that is. I mean, totally. I saw that like in some of my relatives, my cousins, who are like, they want to do a business and whatnot, and it's just like you're talking about it, bro, but you're not like doing it. And it's like when the root of it is like they just don't want to fail. And I've been there. I've been there, like, to the point where, where I'm like, all right, I don't want to make these calls, but I don't want to hear the no. and until you know have the mindset that like that every no is one step closer to that yes kind of thing. And I even small things. I did the I helped a friend of mine to start meditating on a regular morning, and what I told him was very much like the brush your teeth thing. Is like if your breath is nasty, then like you attach that to meditating. It's like as soon as you're about to go grab your toothbrush, go meditate before you do it. You know, just like
100%.
I'll immediately do that, and it worked for me. I probably need to do it myself, because like that's one habit I dropped out of, is meditating. Part of the reason is that my daughter stays with me every couple of weeks, and so like when she's in town, and it's so it's so funny with her, because she still sleeps in bed with me, and it's like
Oh,
and her morning wake up routine is for her to just annoy the shit out of me for a couple of minutes. So but yeah, what do you find like what are like some habits that, like, I know meditating doesn't seem like much, but what are some habits that people can pick up on that will help them develop these small incremental things? Like what's like something really small that we can advise people to do?
something that radically changed my life. It started with drinking water. Now, I know, yeah, yeah, I get it, right? It's like, yeah, I drink water, or I'm drinking. Yeah, okay, got it. And the first thing I do every morning, get up, I go to my kitchen, and I drink an entire liter of water, right? Because when you wake up, no matter where you live, no matter what's going on, you're already dehydrated. You've been breathing through your mouth between 5 and 8 hours a night, right? And you haven't been drinking water, so 8 hours you get really dehydrated. So hitting it with a liter of water, waking up your system, getting you hydrated, fascinating, and that really begins your day in really virtuous ways. And that's when you start cascading into other things, because it's like, oh, I can do this. Just do that for 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, you're gonna be like, what else can I do? You're gonna get curious, right? You're gonna start adding on to that. For me, certainly meditation has been the biggest game changer, right? And just like brushing my teeth, if I skip it or miss it, because it happens, right? And maybe I might, forget about my brushing my teeth. It's not normal, no judgment, right? It's like I get up and I'm like, I might be jumping on work or something that distracts
Yeah.
me in the morning. I'm like, and I'll sit there. I'm like, I know I missed something. Oh, you'll miss it, right? Like, oh man, oh fuck, I forgot to brush my teeth. And then I'm like, okay, that's, and then I stop everything, right? And then I'm running to the bathroom and I'm brushing my teeth. uh, because it's automatic and it sticks with you, even if you don't do it. So like meditation is so anchored in me that if I miss it, I'm right back on it.
Mm.
It eats at me like, oh my god, it's exactly like, oh, I didn't put on pants today. Now, COVID times, there are times where I've just been, I'm not going to wear pants, right?
Get a lot
And
of
right. It happens. Right. I probably have gotten into the habit of wearing a lot of yoga pants and, not dressing for success. Right.
that.
Uh, and I know that the small changes make a big difference. Now, how this is critical at midlife in particular is, at this point of life, we've typically, certainly the people I work with, have spent most of their careers in their careers. They feel guilty or regretful for not spending a ton of time with their kids, or their family or their spouse or their partner. So because they're working, and they're working a lot,
Mhm.
and they spend not a lot of time on themselves, right? And I don't believe in balance, because you're always chasing some state of being that for years, maybe decades, you haven't been, right? You've been a business leader, you've been a father, you've been a mother, and you've been you. All those things make up you. And so when you're like, oh, I need work-life balance. No, you're one human being. What I love, what I talk about, what I teach is, let's get these things aligned. And I know that the more time that you spend on yourself, taking care of you, really loving up you, it cascades into all parts of your life. And those are the habits and practices and feelings and behaviors around the things that fill up your well, that do good things for you. And those aren't avoiding your life. That's not, oh, I'm going to watch Netflix and that's self-care. No, bullshit. Not self-care. Drinking
Yeah.
a liter of water, yeah, self-care, meditation, getting outside, walking around, doing, learning something, reading something, filling your well, so key. And that's when you start bringing so much more to your family, your kids, your job. That branches out immediately into your community. You start changing like who you're with, what you're doing, how you're up leveling yourself. Friends that aren't serving you, you let go of them. People that you meet and communities that you join start altering, and that ultimately leads to a bigger badass legacy. It's like, oh, wow, you have significance in your life. Think of it as you're growing yourself out from the center out. And the
Yeah.
center is you, then it's your family and personal relationships, then it's your job and vocation, then it's your community, and then it's your life, your legacy.
I like that.
Yeah, you're going to be sort of all over the map, and you're supposed to be. And is every step of that supporting each other? And
Yeah.
when those things are out of alignment, that's okay. Let's get back to the center, and that's you. Because
Oh, that's great.
if you're tired, if you're fucked up, if you're angry, if you're pissed off, if your well is empty, if all of those things, I mean, just sleep. When was the last good decision in your relationships or your job that you made when you've had no sleep?
Mm-hmm.
Never happened, I promise.
Yeah.
And if it did, it was dumb fucking luck. That's what it was, right?
Yeah.
So man, it's like I work with people just to unfuck their sleep. And that's like, I'm telling you right now, the greatest self-care you can do is unfuck your sleep. I mean, that is, it aligns you. Every person that is overweight, dramatically overweight, I promise you, has some sort of sleep issue going on. They're not sleeping 8 hours a night consistently. They're not taking care of themselves. And if they are, there's something else that might be seriously wrong. Please go see your doctor. But every single person that's overweight has some sort of sleep thing going on. Promise you. Work on that first.
One of the first things, so I did I hired a personal medicine doctor, and one of the first things that he did, and I see you wearing one too, is Oura ring. This is not a wedding ring, guys. I'm not married. This is a sleep ring. And I mean, he lectured me before he even talked about food, before he talked about like you started talking about dehydrated. My lips are dry right now. I'm really thirsty. And
those are mirror neurons.
Coffee.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So, but the people underestimate sleep, and I was one of those people that was like 4 hours, all I need, I'll crush it. That's bullshit. That is bullshit. Like now, there is proof that you can go with 6. There is some people that are like physiologically are able to do 6 and be at optimal, but they say 8 hours is the number.
I'm going to call shenanigans on that one, because there is and go get tested. If you get a 23andMe, if you get a deeper genetic test, there is absolutely a genetic marker that says I only need 4 to 6 hours a week.
I have that marker.
If you have that marker, fine.
Yep.
6 hours, you're golden, right?
Yeah.
And that's like 1% of the population.
I know.
1%, maybe, right? You're going to be fine. And you're going to see it on that ring, right? If you measure it, you manage it. If you manage it, then you're actually doing something.
Yeah, no, and I tell you what, so this ring was really, I blew my business up in 2019. I went from a 250 person office and lost 60% of my income in literally in a 2-week span. And I had just gotten this ring. It had just did the 2-month calibration. So there's like a couple of months where it didn't really know what it was doing because it's trying to calibrate to what it is. And watching my stress levels go up with the resting heart rate number, just kind of like peaking at like October. And then I hired a spiritual coach, I think like in maybe September in July. Actually, I hired a spiritual coach in July, had 2 sessions with him. My number just started to just tanked down. And like the session that I had with him was like right before the second session I had with him was like right before Burning Man. We did this like tapping exercise on your head and
Oh, so good.
vibration.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just went straight down, and my sleep got better. Like I was waking up in the middle of the night. Like my stress levels were so high that I would
Yeah.
sweat. Like,
Yeah.
and just my shirt was soaked. I'm like, my house is 65 degrees. And that was one of the other things, like, to tell you to drop your temperature of your home down to 67 or 65 degrees for optimal sleep. Another little tip. So my house was cold, but I'm sweating, and it was from the stress. And basically I wasn't even really sleeping. My scores were like ridiculous. And I was trying to pull up my Aura Ring app to see what I scored last night. And like, it's so funny because for Christmas 2 years ago, I got everybody, my brother, my sister, and my mom, one of these rings, and we joke about who scores the best. Ironically, my 67, 68-year-old mom scores 93, 95, 97
Crushing it.
every single night. I was like, how the fuck is that even possible? Like,
Crushing it. Crushing
I've
it,
never
Mom.
been past an 86. Like, it's, I mean, I've had those 90 something.
Right.
And it is a balance of a lot of things. Like, so I don't go to the gym anymore. I go to my farm and I cut shit down. You know what I mean? Like, I'm carrying a 35-pound saw, and the days that I'm at the gym working my ass off, I mean, or on the farm working, my sleep score is better. Like, I score 92. I scored a 92 yesterday, and got 6.5 hours of sleep, 7.5 hours of sleep, I think, or the day before yesterday, not last night, but the day before yesterday. And I'm a big proponent of sleep. I have a friend of mine that he's a manager at Amazon, and he does the late shift, man. He wants to come hang out, show up at my house like 9 o'clock to fucking hang out, man. I ain't trying to hang out till 11 o'clock. And I know I'm only 41 and I can still party like a champ, but like, I want to be getting ready for bed at like 9:30 is when I phone's off, no more blue screen. I turn the red lights on in my house. Like, I'm pretty thorough about that because all my lights are LED. I just remodeled, a couple of years ago. And then I start reading, and reading puts, like, for some reason reading the news doesn't do it to me, but having a book in my hand and reading, I can't go more than 2 paragraphs without like just falling asleep. It is like the best sleep aid, no matter how interesting the book is. Like, it just, something about that monotony of it just puts me out. And I think having the wake up routine and having a sleep routine are as crucial to your health and your well-being as anything else. I mean, it's
Hey, you also said something critical, which is having a morning routine and an evening routine. Start the day and bookend it, right? You're starting with sleep, but you're also reading. You're starting the steps in order to actually wind down. The biggest interrupter of like brains has been this thing, right? This is the thing that crushes, it just really destroys sleep, really destroys attention. There's been rises in suicide. There's been less sleep going on, more misery going on, more disconnectedness, and correlation or causation, we'll see. But but this is what's happened for me. I took a couple of months off of this, and I measured it with the ring. It was dramatic. The biggest health indicator that a person can look at is your resting heart rate and your heart rate variability. Those two things going together, heart rate variability going up, resting heart rate going down. If those things are trending like that, you're getting healthier and healthier and healthier. Start with sleep and start with this phone. Put this thing away. It's crazy making.
The other thing that would be a great correlation is stop going to Starbucks, which I have a $5 a day habit there. It's my own, like it's an addiction. There's a great book. It's for free if you have Audible. It's about 2.5 hours long. It's Michael Pollan, one of my favorite authors. I just love the way he writes. He wrote the book How to Change Your Mind, and his book Caffeine is I think it's exclusively on Audible. But he does a great interview, and one of the most astonishing statistics that he puts out there is that you can literally graph the proliferation of Starbucks and sleep disorders. So they take the reports of sleep orders, and then they put it on a graph, and it's going up. And then they put the number of Starbucks around the country, and it goes up in complete correlation to the sleep disorders. It's really crazy. I highly recommend everyone to listen to it. It's 2.5 hours long, 3 hours long. I quit in, I went cold turkey on caffeine for our journey in Mexico.
Yeah, me too.
And it wasn't that hard for me. I have a very addictive personality, but I can also turn it off really well. So
Right.
which is like, I've been pretty blessed in that. I mean, it's just like when I quit drinking, I was just like, nah, I'm done. It's over.
Me too. Oh my God, we're like on both of those. Yeah.
Yeah. It just, one thing I haven't, I quit smoking weed cold turkey a few times, but I always go back to that one. I don't know why. I don't know. It's I don't know what it is. Maybe I think I'm definitely addicted to the habit, not it, but caffeine is one of the most dangerous drugs out there, and it's literally on every corner. I always tell people, I was like, so the biggest drug dealer in the world is the United States Postal Office, because they ship so much drugs and stuff to everybody. And the biggest like retail drug dealer in the world is Starbucks. They literally have I mean, it is a drug. I mean, it is literally a drug, and people don't. I cannot get to my office without stopping at Starbucks. As many times I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it, and I'm in the drive-through like, shit, I'm stuck.
You've anchored it in, right? You've anchored in driving to Starbucks. So breaking those habits. The thing I would do probably starting tomorrow is take a different way to work. There's absolutely another way you can get to work.
Yeah.
So completely change it up. See if you can change it up 2 or 3 times. Just make, get a little lost, take an Uber to work. Just like do that. If you do it for a few days, it will interrupt. Interrupting is really key. Or going to Starbucks and getting a water, or getting hot water, getting a decaf tea, right? You can still go to Starbucks, but reduce your caffeine by just ordering something else or going a different way, because you've anchored it to something that you find pretty pleasurable, which is driving to work, looking forward to work. It's like all of these like good things are going on. It's like, okay, well, you know what? Punch yourself in the face and you're going to start enjoying that too. Don't do that.
That's great advice. Great advice. Yeah. So, I mean, I can tell you're definitely more energetic and motivated in today's call. What is something that's like, what's something that you've taken from this conference that you went through that's just like lit your fire more than anything?
I think certainly recognizing that I don't have a business, just like a risky job. I realized that my sales process is slow and completely modifiable. And I can get it consistent. I can track it and actually be killing it. And just a clear reminder that people buy personalities, they buy stories. They don't, I mean, it's like, if you look at these things, if you look at these phones, right? Steve Jobs never said, "Hey, it's got 1 billion megapixels and it's light and it's convenient and you carry it around and it has a cool battery life." He never said that. He said, "You can carry around your entire your entire music collection in the palm of your hand." I'm like, what? Wow, right? So people buy personality, buy story. They want to work with you because of who you are. It's almost irrelevant what your product is. I mean, people buy $15,000 purses, right? And they do it for the experience. They do it for the story. I mean, maybe it takes them $20 to make a $15,000 purse in some part of the world. And it's marked up a bajillion times. So, a luxury item does not cost that much to put together. It's the story behind it. In grad school, we talked about, you can take a ratty ass sweater and put it on eBay and not sell it, right? But if you sold George Clooney's ratty ass sweater, it would be almost priceless. People would like kill themselves to go get it because it's got, Clooney cooties on it, right? It's like, oh, yay. And it's the story that's selling that, right? If your salespeople are going into a home and a house, I imagine that they might certainly have the information of like, oh, this is on an acre, it's a really quiet neighborhood, here's the, it's got good schools. And if they're really putting it out there, it's like, hey, this place would be really, really great for your young kids. They have good schools, they have, good streets and the rest of it. And so you're putting it and anchoring it in as a story as their family, right? I mean, that's why you stage houses with some furniture in it, and you strip out the knickknacks that are really personal, right? You do that in order to allow people to fill in their story. It's a very visual thing.
Yeah.
You get them excited in if you feel it, you do it. And if you do it, you feel it. That cycle is really critical.
Yeah.
I've learned some tips and tricks on taxes that were really interesting. We can talk about that, outside of this,
Yeah.
because you totally can take advantage of some really curious things. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting thing. And what else did I get? Those are a lot of the big ones. A lot of really good information on marketing, and how to connect, certainly connecting with people, how to do really positive, really get my story down in a sound bite so that in 5 seconds I can say, this is what I do. And you're like, oh, I totally get it. I turn your midlife crisis into a kick-ass midlife through individual one-on-one coaching. I write, I speak, and my clients have gone and changed their lives for the better. They've changed their jobs, they've changed their career, they've changed their careers, they've changed themselves, they've changed their relationships. Any part of their life at midlife where they have seen it go into the ditch, they have changed that, and that is the legacy that they're living. Sounds good, right?
Yeah,
I'd buy
great.
that.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, I got some referrals for you, man.
Right? I mean, everybody's got a friend in the ditch, right? They're 40 years old and they're like, oh my God, you're having a crisis. Call Dave.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, it's so funny because so when I built my company, I went into a market that I just brought something that nobody else was doing, which was like a flat fee split with real estate agents. And so I was able to dominate. I went in and went 10x in 5 years. Now that is a pretty common model. I blew it up in this town, and it's very common. You can't go into many markets that don't already have this model. So when we go into markets, our story is like, we build community. You're not a number. We're growing. That's what we focus on.
So good.
Our whole premise is that we limit our office sizes to 150 agents because you cannot build meaningful relationships with more than 150 people. And that is a big differentiator. English is my second.
Differentiator. Yeah.
Yeah, that word.
We'll go with that.
And English is my second language, by the way. So that is it makes us unique to the other flat fee offices, because those all offices are trying to grow to 500 agents, and I'm not. Mine is limited to 150. It forces and part of it is building culture. And building a culture of producers. It's building a culture of like community around, and all these big offices that are popping up. And I found this.
Would you welcome a little bit of coaching up based on this business thing I've been doing?
Yeah, I'd love it.
Okay, so building community, great. I hear you on that. That's about you. Yeah. I want you to make it about me. Yeah. It's like, okay, building community. What does that mean for me?
Yeah.
You tell me.
Okay, what is it? Like building community is that in the market today, we recognize that most of these offices just want to be as big as possible, and you just become another number in there. You're just a body.
Okay, I like the first part, meh. The second part, badass, right?
Okay.
You can either be a number, or you can have individual one-on-one. We're going to be your friend, right? Like we're going to take you out for a beer and give you and make sure that you and your family are safe, protected, and getting the best value for your dollar. And your kids are going to love it. Your wife is going to love it. Your husband's going to love it, right? All of those things are like, here's the problem. You can be a number, right?
Yeah.
And that's just terrible. It's terrible service, right? And we see it all over the time. We're going to be badass kick-ass service so that you really feel like you're a member of our family, because we want to be a member of your family, something like that, right? Yeah, because it really is. It's like, it's that personal touch, and it's like, we're going to come in and we're going to make sure that you're having a great experience, because this is the biggest this is the biggest thing that you're going to do in your life.
Mhm.
And we want to make sure that it is awesome for you,
That's
right?
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
That's what makes you different.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I love it, man. That's good stuff. I'm
Yeah.
gonna yeah, I actually when we get off this call, there's actually a top recruit that's in so I partnered with I've opened my first JV office. So I have my first partners are actually in there doing a
Nice.
recruiting call right now, and I have to pop in there and just kind of give them, hey, I'm the CEO, welcome to the thing. And so I'm actually going to use that in the next like 5 minutes.
Totally. It's problem.
Yeah.
Uh, it's problem, how you're different, and then what's the result? It couldn't
Problems,
be
how
any
you're
more
different,
simple.
and what's the result?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what? How your solution is better, right, than everybody else. So problem, you know, it's like, like 99% of the, 99, get the real number.
Yeah.
80% of all real estate transactions treat you like a number. It's
Yeah.
completely depersonalized for the biggest transaction of your life. We
Yeah.
think that that's wrong. You
Yeah.
shouldn't be a number. This should be a personalized, handheld process to make sure that you are having both a good experience, a safe experience, and getting exactly what you want for exactly the right price.
Yeah.
You will never pay more than you should. And you will always, and I guarantee that you're going to have a great experience. That has resulted in boom, 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 boom. You know,
Results.
I got, I have 100 clients right now that have bought amazing homes that are happy to get on the phone and tell you how great you are. You name me any business on the planet that is willing to line up 10 people today in order to
Yeah.
say, we had a great time.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm literally going to use this in the next couple of minutes.
Go. All right, my friend.
Well, Dave,
Good
thanks for
chat.
jumping on. I feel that was a great show today, man. A lot of energy. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Please like and share our videos, and we'll catch you guys next week.